Back to the channel, everyone. We get to finally do kind of a random comparison. I didn't really mean to do this one, but I figured a lot of you guys might be enjoying it or something like that. I don't even know what I'm talking about. We're going to be comparing the OnePlus 7 Pro, the original 7 Pro, the one that came out last year, against the Samsung Galaxy S20. Now this is the regular version of this one, not the Ultra or the Plus, but it'll kind of give you an idea of what type of phone you can get per price point. You know, this is a more budget type of phone. Actually, when it came out, it brought a lot of cool things that even top tier phones at that year didn't even have. And the Galaxy S20 is really like the top tier, cream of the crop, you know, put everything in a phone that we can, Samsung that we like. And this phone has a ton of things going for it as well. Both phones have crazy things going for them still. And the OnePlus 7 Pro is going to be a year old soon. So I'll definitely tell you the better price per value is probably the OnePlus 7 Pro. The Samsung Galaxy S20 cost that $1,000 still. You know, it really hasn't gone down in price at all. And you know, it's rightfully so. It's only been out for like a couple weeks, so give it a little bit of time. This thing will probably go down to like 700 by like July, if I'm being honest, especially considering the fact Samsung's prices, you know, aren't really looking too well in terms of what they're selling for. They're not selling a ton of these things, so they might drop some deals here and there. I don't know. Whereas on the OnePlus 7 Pro, when it first came out, it was retailing for I think like $799 or something like that. It wasn't selling for a lot of money. But now you can pick up one of these things for about $649 on Amazon, but I've actually found some that are less than $600, so I'll link those in the description below, as well as some Samsung Galaxy S20s there too, so you can pick up either one, whichever one you want. You can help support the channel at the same time. The weird thing though is that there is a good middle ground for both these phones, the Samsung Galaxy S10, so I'll go ahead and leave those linked down below so you can get them from there. Now looking on the front of both phones, I'll actually start with the OnePlus 7 Pro. This thing has this 6.67 inch 1440p display. It's a fluid AMOLED display. And funny enough, when this thing first came out last year, a ton of cool things were coming out for the first technically of this time. We had the motorized pop-up camera and all those cool little things. And looking at this display, you can see it covers up pretty much the whole entire display. It doesn't cover, you know, it doesn't have any bezel on it or anything like that for the most part. It has a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But the really cool thing was at the time, it had the 90 Hz refresh rate on that display on an OLED display, which was really cool, and that was definitely a step in the right direction. It's super sweet. I mean, it looks really nice. You can't really tell over the camera or anything, but it looks like a very nice display overall, even when you're messing with it. And like I said, it wasn't the first time I think we saw an increase in the refresh rate, but it was a really cool thing that we had that on type of a budget phone. It wasn't even a budget phone in terms of how it felt or anything, but the way it kind of proclaimed itself as, it was a really top tier phone for the time being. Where the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 6.2 inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's also a 1440p display, and this display is really good as well. There's really not one thing that, you know, overbeats this one over that one. They both look like very good panels. For some reason though, I think OnePlus's panel just looks a little bit better. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's the color settings or something, or maybe it's the wallpaper, I don't know. But the really cool thing about the Samsung Galaxy S20's display is not only the, you know, the hole punch display in the center where this one has the motorized pop-up camera, but this one actually has the 120 Hz refresh rate on that display. And what's funny enough is sooner or later we're going to get an update that will allow us to get Quad HD at 120 Hz, which is going to be really cool. So between both, obviously the OnePlus 7 Pro is the bigger phone for sure. It has the bigger display, so if you like a bigger display, the OnePlus 7 Pro might be the way to go. But the Galaxy S20 has that really nice 120 Hz option as well, which is really cool. So again, one doesn't really blow the other one out of the water, but the S20 I like for the features in terms of the display. The OnePlus 7 Pro I like because it is the bigger display, which kind of looks really nice too. On the bottom you can see USB Type-C ports on both phones. And on the back we have glass backs on both phones and a triple camera setups on both phones as well. And in the hand, one doesn't feel crazy better than the other one or anything. They both feel about the same. I think the Galaxy S20 might feel a little bit more premium, just by a little bit, but they both feel, you know, for the most part, pretty much the same. I don't know what the heck my S20 is doing. The S20 also has a really cool feature of two actually things that the OnePlus 7 Pro doesn't have. This one has a micro SD card slot, so you can expand the storage up to however much you want on it. The OnePlus 7 Pro doesn't have it. But the OnePlus 7 Pro also does not have IP certification, which is pretty insane. For a phone in 2020, you should have some sort of IP certification. The Samsung Galaxy S20 does have IP68, does some water resistance, where the OnePlus 7 Pro does not have any water resistance. It might have a little bit, but it's not certified, so we don't really know. So that's a pretty crazy thing. The Galaxy S20, in my opinion, definitely wins in the build quality in terms of the durability and everything, and the micro SD card slot is really cool. So that pretty much covers up the outside. Now hitting on the software, the Samsung Galaxy S20, as we know, is the newer one. It started off with Android 10. It's going to continue on getting updates probably for 2 more versions of Android, so it's going to get Android 11, then Android 12, and it's going to stop there. Whereas on the OnePlus 7 Pro, it started off with Android Pie. We really don't know which one it's going to end off. If I had to say, it's probably going to end off in Android 11, probably 1 year or less than the S20 because this one is the older one. But I will tell you, in terms of the software experience, in my opinion, I think Oxygen OS is probably the best version of Android ever. I think it's way better than One UI, obviously. And I think this one is even better than stock Android, to be honest. I love OnePlus's OS. I love Oxygen OS. It's very, very nice. It's like stock Android on steroids, and I have a really great experience overall with Oxygen OS. So for sure, call it a little bias or something, but even though this one is lasting technically one version less than the S20, I feel like this one might even last longer in terms of the software just the way it is, but also this thing is easily to be rooted and ROMmed as far as I know, so there's going to be more custom ROMs available to the OnePlus 7 Pro, whereas on the S20, this one is pretty hard to custom ROM as far as I know. It's been a pretty big deal for these ones, stemming back all the way to like the S7. So these ones have a pretty hard time at custom ROMing, whereas on the OnePlus 7 Pro, we have a pretty easy time custom ROMing it for the most part. So that pretty much covers it up in terms of the software. Now I'll go ahead and do a little bit of a speed test, but I'll go ahead and tell you the specs first. The OnePlus 7 Pro has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 640 GPU. And there's 3 different models of the OnePlus 7 Pro, a 128, 256, and 256 gig variants, so 256 gig variants. The base model has 6 gigs of RAM, then 8 gigs of RAM, and 12 gigs of RAM. This model that I have here has 6 gigs of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 650 GPU. There's only one model of the S20 with 12 gigabytes of RAM, so let's go ahead and see which one is the faster one between both these. And I'll go ahead and make sure all the apps are cleared out in the background and everything like that. So let's go ahead and start loading some of these things up. I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's do the Play Store, 3, 2, 1. And they both loaded up really, really fast. And it looks like the S20 is probably the smoother one when it comes to loading these things. If I load up the Sonic thing, for example, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, they loaded up pretty the same. They're almost exactly the same when it comes down to it. Let's do camera, 3, 2, 1. I think they were about the same. Messages, 3, 2, 1. About the same again. Calling, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, about the same. I think System Apps is going to be about the same on both. So let's go ahead and start loading up these top tier apps. And guys, it's your lucky day. I didn't even have any apps installed on here, so I had to reinstall them. I only have a couple of them, but it's no big deal. We can kind of get an idea. Let's do Crossy Road, 3, 2, 1. And I will have to redo this one and put in my age and all that stuff. Crossy Road again, 3, 2, 1. These things are so loud. And I think the S20 was just a little bit faster. Okay, alright. Noises were kind of annoying. Let's do Stack or Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And let's go and load them up. See which one is a smoother one. They're both going to be about the same smoothness, so there's not going to be a big difference there. As you can see on the S20, I'm about to die. But yeah, they're about the same on both. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Had a little pop-up here, so give it a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. And I think, honestly, they probably loaded up at the same time. And I don't know why these phones keep going all over the place in terms of the way they sound. Let's get into some gameplay. This is probably going to be the most pathetic speed comparison I've ever done in my life. And in terms of gameplay on this one, they're about the same as well. Let's go and load up this dumb guy's name on both of them. 3, 2, 1. And you can see they both were about the same. Not a big difference on both. I spelled it wrong here, but they're about the same thing. So I'll go ahead and see if there's going to be a difference in terms of loading up the apps from the background. 3, 2, 1. And they're about the same. There's not going to be a pretty big difference. So that really pretty much covers up the speed comparison. A quick one, not a humongous one. But I'll go ahead and talk about the cameras right now. They both have triple camera setups, but they're both very, very different. So the OnePlus 7 Pro has a 48 megapixel wide-angle lens, an 8 megapixel telephoto lens, and then a 16 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, where the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 12 megapixel wide-angle lens, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and then another 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. And what I can tell you about both cameras is both cameras are pretty good, okay? The OnePlus 7 Pros being the older one is definitely not bad. I think it gets the job done for sure, but the Samsung Galaxy S20 by far is the far better camera sensor for sure. Not only do you have the ability to do 4K at 60 on both cameras, I feel like the quality is better on the S20, but here's the other thing. The Galaxy S20 has the ability to shoot 8K videos, which is insane, and that's a feature that not a lot of cameras have in the market right now. So I would definitely tell you in terms of the cameras, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the better camera sensor. On the front, The motorized pop-up camera on the 7 Pro, you have that 16 megapixel lens. The Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 10 megapixel lens, but you're able to do 4K at 60 frames per second on the S20, where you can only do 1080p at 30 frames on the OnePlus 7 Pro. So by default, I'll definitely say the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the better camera sensor for sure. Now ending it off with battery life, funny enough, they both have the same size battery, the 4000 mAh battery within, and what I can definitely tell you is for sure, I kind of do believe that the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a better battery life. I think it's pretty close on both, but if I had to put it down on one, I think the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the better battery life overall. But the OnePlus 7 Pros is right behind it as well. They both have, higher refresh rates than normal, so one isn't going to completely outlast the other one. But it's crazy because even if you look at the thickness, you would assume that the OnePlus 7 Pro has the way bigger battery, but it really doesn't. And the S20 is much smaller, but it has a, same size battery, which is surprising. So to kind of sum up the video and to answer the question, should you pick up the S20, should you pick up the OnePlus 7 Pro? What I can tell you is, for the better bang for dollar or whatever, the OnePlus 7 Pro is the better value per dollar for sure. You're getting a really good phone still, you still have software support, you still have Oxygen OS, which is really nice, and it has a lot going for it still. For not that much money, I mean, it's a lot of money, but still, it's like around less than $600, which is a really, really good price. Whereas on the Samsung Galaxy S20, it's the brand new phone. If you have all the money in the world, get the S20. It's a very good phone. But still, I think the OnePlus 7 Pro is a very good phone. I think the Galaxy S10 also is a very good phone too, and it's actually cheaper than the OnePlus 7 Pro on Amazon. So I'll leave all these phones linked down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.